In the last days of March 1912, on the frozen Ross Ice Shelf in Antarctica, 3 men lay dying in a small canvas tent. A blizzard had pinned them down for days. 11 miles away stood the depot of food and fuel that could have saved them. One of them was Robert Falcon Scott. He had reached the South Pole, only to find that another team had beaten him there. Now, starving and frostbitten, he gathered the last of his strength to write a message meant not for one person, but for the whole of his country. He called it a message to the public. These are his words. The causes of the disaster are not due to faulty organization, but to misfortune in all risks which had to be undertaken. We fought these untoward events with a will and conquered, but it cut into our provision reserve. The Beardmore Glacier is not difficult in fine weather, but on our return we did not get a single completely fine day. This, with a sick companion, enormously increased our anxieties. I do not think human beings ever came through such a month as we have come through. We should have got through, in spite of the weather, but for the sickening of a second companion, Captain Oates, and a shortage of fuel in our depots for which I cannot account. And finally, but for the storm which has fallen on us within 11 miles of the depot at which we hoped to secure our final supplies. Surely misfortune could scarcely have exceeded this last blow. We arrived within 11 miles of our old 1-ton camp, with fuel for one last meal and food for 2 days. For 4 days we have been unable to leave the tent, the gale howling about us. We are weak. Writing is difficult, but for my own sake I do not regret this journey, which has shown that Englishmen can endure hardships, help one another, and meet death with as great a fortitude as ever in the past. We took risks. We knew we took them. Things have come out against us, and therefore we have no cause for complaint, but bow to the will of Providence, determined still to do our best to the last. But if we have been willing to give our lives to this enterprise, which is for the honor of our country, I appeal to our countrymen to see that those who depend on us are properly cared for. Had we lived, I should have had a tale to tell of the hardihood, endurance, and courage of my companions which would have stirred the heart of every Englishman. These rough notes and our dead bodies must tell the tale, but surely, a great rich country like ours will see that those who are dependent on us are properly provided for. The letter was found 8 months later, when a search party reached the half-buried tent. Scott lay between his 2 companions, Edward Wilson and Henry Bowers, their journals and farewell letters beside them. In his diary, Scott had written one last line: "For God's sake, look after our people." Britain raised funds for the families of the dead, and the story passed into memorials, classrooms, and legend. But the heart of it was always simpler: a dying man in a frozen tent, spending his final clear words not on blame, but on the people who would be left behind. History remembers the explorer. For a moment, let it remember the man.